you something here. Now I have figured this out. Last night, I went on a show in San Francisco. And I've got to tell you, I hit on this and then Pro Football Focus. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Florio's people picked up on this or somebody picked up on it. Because Big Sills, I am a gigantic conspiracy theorist. Now I understand why the Eagles and the Cardinals have swept the Jonathan Gannon tampering story under the rug. Tone, everyone, follow me. The Arizona Cardinals have admitted that there was tampering. The Eagles admitted through the communications that there was tampering that went on in the hiring process of Jonathan Gannon, correct? They've admitted it. Well, if you were a guy that went to FanDuel or a casino and you made a $1,000 bet that the Eagles would cover defensively, would you have still went with that point spread, knowing full well that the defensive coordinator of the NFC champions was not fully engaged? And the league has admitted in the tampering that he was 2 days before talking to Michael Bidwell, and he was hired the very next day after the Super Bowl as the brand new head coach. How don't you have a lawsuit there against the National Football League for fraud? How don't you have fraud in this? And you sue the league civilly for your money and what it might brought you back in return. That's fraud. The NFL has admitted to fraud in their own bylaws. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Well, then let me ask you this. Yell goes, it's debatable whether he was fully engaged. Okay, well, as the guy making the bet, if you had known that the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles was having powwows and conversations with the Arizona Cardinals, would you have put $1,000 down for 3-point spread in that Super Bowl? Absolutely not. You misled me, is what I'm saying. You misled me. You misled me. You misled me in information. Dude, you're so concerned about the injury report on Thursdays. You're so cognizant of this gambling and players gambling. You don't think that what about the league? Think about this. You cannot prove that it affected the outcome. I'm not saying it did. I'm saying it affected my ability to have all information on my bet. I'm saying if I had known that the defensive and the league admitted it, that he was, they admitted to tampering. So I know now today that the defensive coordinator of the Eagles was not engaged. He can't. What do you mean you don't know he was engaged? Tampering was admitted. The league admitted it. They switched picks with Arizona. This is why there's a prepared statement. And how he reads that prepared statement. Because they don't want it to go too far, because you know why? Dude, if I made a $100,000 bet and it's a 3-point spread in the game, I remember what it was. Say it's a 1 point. What was the spread in the Super Bowl? Does anybody remember? Okay, what does anybody remember what the spread was in that game? It was a tight 3. Are you making a $100,000 bet if you know that one of the coaches on the other side is not in the building preparing for the Super Bowl? It's not that whether or not it had an effect on the game. It was 1.5 points. You're trying to tell me that would not have made a decision on your bet and your investment in gambling. Okay? So what the league is doing here is sweeping this on. This is why both organizations don't want to go too deep into it. Because someone that made a $100,000 bet, what about that one guy, the mattress guy that made a $3 million bet? You think he's making a $3 million bet on something if he knows that one of the coaches is kind of like, hey, how about this? Even if it had no outcome of the game, would that man have bet that? Would I have made that investment on the Eagles, knowing that the coach was going to be hired the next day and he was having conversations with the Cardinals in Arizona, by the way, where the Super Bowl was? I don't know about you, but to me, that's a little messy of a scenario there for the National Football League. I'd like the league to answer this. So if my buddy makes a parlay and it comes out that now I didn't have full information, why? You give me the injury report every Thursday. I never got that. You know why why do you think you give the injury report on Thursday? To set the line. There's no other reason to have an injury report on Thursday except for gambling. There's no reason except for gambling. The league has always had that line on Thursdays on who's active and who's not for gambling. So if you add it on Thursday, yeah, coach is talking during the week about getting hired. And the day after, on Monday, he's going to be the Arizona Cardinal coach because he was having conversations. I'm not betting money on the Eagles. I mean, the league is so concerned about gambling. And remember what, I was talking, hey, Tone, I think you were producing the other day. I said this, and I think it was D Gunn. He goes, yeah, what the players do. Think of this. This is, I'm paraphrasing D Gunn. He goes, don't players know that they have to stay away from the casinos and gambling? You could, just stay away from it. Okay. Well, you also know that there's rules that during the Super Bowl week, you're not supposed to be talking to other teams and preparing for other jobs while you're in season. They have windows set up for that. And when John McMullen comes out and goes, well, other teams do it. Well, yeah, $1 billion is not being bet every week like it is in the Super Bowl. This goes beyond just winning the Lombardi Trophy now. This goes into the practices of the NFL and the NFL having a front office not knowing that one of their coaches was going behind the scenes and potentially affecting the sports line. Because if people would, you know what I would have said? Holy shit, if I would have known that Jonathan Gannon was not engaged and he was talking to the Cardinals, I would have put all my money on the Chiefs. You would have affected the point spread line. You would have affected the line because more money would have went on Kansas City. Okay? Think of that. So you're trying to tell the players that they can't bet on parlays, but you got a coach affecting the Super Bowl line. No wonder Howie Roseman and the Cardinals are mum, because they don't want anybody to come back and sue them for affecting a point spread line. NFL is so engaged in gambling now They come out almost daily now. Daily with all these parameters for the coaches. Remember what I said the other day too, Tone? I said a front office could also throw a game by sitting and activating players each and every single week. Well, when you got guys not in the building and they're talking to other people in a Super Bowl week, and you got a point spread line that affects billions of dollars, I don't know about you. That seems awful shady to me. Jonathan Gannon and the Cardinals, I agree, Yale. You could put the National Football League in more of a peculiar position here if people wanted to bring press charges against the NFL for fraud. Again, I don't know either if it affected the Super Bowl, but it would have affected sports bets. It would have affected sports books. Money would have moved. It always does. And here's the most important critical part of this. The NFL admitted to it. They admitted to their own guilt. Yes, we're guilty of fraud, tampering. I can't believe nobody's not making a bigger deal of this. Okay? Yale goes, I think he was hired the next day. They may, I'll tell you what, Yale, they probably did throw that out there publicly because they probably found out that there was tampering going on. But wait a minute, Yale, they admitted to tampering, whether they threw that out or not. It was tampering. Hey, all I'm saying is, and look, you guys know me, man. I'm a big conspiracy guy. Hey, JM, right? And by the way, you know what makes it even more weird, JM? Is that when Howie was talking to Mike Florio, it was almost like he memorized a prepared statement because they didn't want to get in any kind of legal issue. I didn't realize it then. But then I was like, man, he almost like memorized like a statement from the league, not from the team. It was almost verbatim. Unlike lawyers for the NFL must have given both teams talking points because they're afraid of getting sued on this. Dude, you imagine the billions of dollars that people could go back and sue the league if they – because here's the issue. If the league hadn't admitted to fraud or to tampering, then I think it's a little iffy. But when the league says, yes, there was fraud here, tampering, you're right. Some of you said, how do you know it affects the game? I don't know. But I do know it would have affected sports bets. And it would have affected a sports line. So did Gannon tank the game? No, that's weapon. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that sports bettors, and if you've been around them, use every single bit of information they have. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. Use every single bit of information to set a line for their sports books. MGM Grand, Oceans Casino, whomever. They set the line on their information. They got professionals that set their money. And so you're telling me if Ocean's sportsbook guy heard that the defensive coordinator was not in, was interviewing during Super Bowl week for a job, that's like a guy who gets caught out at night, the night before the Super Bowl. All the money moves. That's right. Tone goes like this. Sports bettors check to see if players ate their damn breakfast before placing a bet. That's my point. Dude, No wonder this stuff has been kind of quiet. No wonder nobody makes issues of it. Yeah, you know why? Because the NFL controls the media. This is a great example right here. You don't see big stories anywhere. It's not so much that Jonathan Gannon would have cost their team the game. It's nothing to do with that. It's placing the bets, moving the lines, and the over-under. I was like, I thought about that. I go, well, would I have made a bet knowing if Jonathan Gannon was going to get the job the next day? Hit the like button. Oh, in honor of the ESPYs, Big Sills has got Eagles and NFL awards. We're going to do our own awards. We'll do our awards. We're going to do that at the top of the hour here, but you keep it here at the National Football Show. Hit the like button.